Hey everyone, David Priemer here, and what I wanted to do today was take you through a very quick messaging exercise that you can use to make sure that your message hits the center of the target for your target audience. You know, I've worked with a lot of sales and marketing people, and what I found is that we're always very clear on what the message is in our head. You know, it's like we're going to this party and we get dressed up for the party and we think we look really good, and then we show up at the party and we realize that we're either wildly overdressed or wildly underdressed for the kind of party it is. And that's the way our messaging works as well. We're very clear on what that message is in our head, and yet when we articulate it to someone else, it doesn't always hit the center of the target. And so here's a really easy technique that you can use to make sure that it does. Start out with your core message. The circle represents your core message. And just ask yourself a very simple question. And that question is, so what? And the object of asking that question, the purpose, is to see if you can get as close to the center of the target of that message as you can. So for example, at the very outset, you might ask yourself a question, well, what is it that I do? Well, you know, I help people, I have a solution that helps people integrate their back-end systems, or I have a solution that helps improve employee engagement, or I have a solution that helps people, you know, lose weight and get in shape. All right, so what? And the idea is you want to get to a very quantifiable, a very simple, and a very strategic message. Now, you can also work it in the other direction. Start out with a message that's kind of closer to the center and work your way outwards. And the way you work your way outwards is by asking another simple question, which is how? How do I do that? How do I help people get in shape? How do I help drive employee engagement? How do I help people, you know, integrate their back-end systems? And the idea here is that you're going to end up with a message that is a little bit more general, it's going to be a little bit more descriptive of what you do, and it's going to have a little bit more functional tone. Now, the real key here is making sure that when you deliver that message, you're delivering the right message to the right audience. So for example, if you are trying to connect with someone who is, let's say, more senior, let's say an executive, or someone who's really not familiar with your space, you might want to start closer to the center of the target. I help people increase revenues by 20%. I help people add 10 more years to their life. Right? And then you work your way outwards by asking how. Now, if you're speaking to someone who might be a little bit more familiar with your space, who they might be in your space, and they might be aware of other solutions in your space, what you want to do is start a little bit further out. Talk about how you do it, right? To save time, to make sure it hits the center of the target for what you're looking to do. Now, there's lots of different and interesting ways that you can layer a few of these messages together. We'll get to that in a future post, but for now, think about how you are architecting your message in terms of the value proposition and making sure that it's hitting the center of the target for the person you are trying to connect with.